Unfortunately for He-Man, two halves of evil make a whole lot of trouble. Here's a look at Mattel SDCC 2024 exclusive, the He-Man in the Master Universe cartoon collection, Too Bad. Once two of the most dangerous bounty hunters in the universe, Tuvar and Badra developed a bitter rivalry. Their bad blood used to be the only thing they shared, now they share everything as Too Bad. Even though the two bitter rivals are now literally connected at the hip, their hatred for each other has not been quelled. And what would you two like to have in your coffee? Oh, half and half, of course. Just before we get a closer look at the Mattel He-Man in the Master Universe cartoon collection, Tuvar, Badra, two halves of obviously the total package, Too Bad. Let's grab the tape measure and see how tall the figures actually stand. Now, this set was released as an SDCC, or San Diego Comic-Con 2024 exclusive. I didn't get the chance to drive all the way to San Diego, but I did the next best thing, the cheapest thing. I actually found this set over on the Facebook selling group. And again, a big thank you to Daryl for hooking me up. Let's grab the tape measure and see how tall these stand. Now, they're obviously going to be using as well the cartoon collection bodies, so they're already right away going to be bigger than the Origins bodies. But each one of the figures, starting first with Tuvar, he's going to stand, at 6 inches in height, or about 15 centimeters tall. It's going to really change no differently here for Badra. Badra's literally going to be about the same size. I mean, if anything, he has a little bit of a mohawk, but it still translates to roughly about the same size of figure, both in inches and in centimeters. Let's bring in some other baddies to be displayed with Too Bad. First, here's what the figure looks like with Skeletor. By far, I feel the most disappointing figure we've gotten from the cartoon collection, and it's just a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's just not enough negative space around Skeletor's skeletal face. His face takes up way too much real estate inside the hood. Not as disappointing, though, is certainly the Trapjaw. Trapjaw is a fantastic figure. Speaking of also Trapjaw, one of the included accessories that come with Tuvar and Badra is the Mirror of Avathar. The Season 2 episode, The Ancient Mirror of Avathar, very heavily features not only Too Bad, as they are combined, it also features Trapjaw dressed as a pirate. Prince Adam, in fact, goes up to Trapjaw a couple of times and doesn't even recognize the baddie underneath. Prince Adam's pretty stupid. What isn't stupid, though, is certainly some of the other cooler figures we've gotten from the cartoon collection, like, for example, Merman, the most recently looked at Webster, and also a character that also appears in the Ancient Mirror of Avathar. Here's what the figures look like with Evil Lyn. Walking through the accessories right now. To your left, you got the Mirror of Avathar. To your right, the torso of Too Bad, but meeting somewhat ironically in the middle, you've got the mini comic. Clever the way that Mattel handled this mini comic, because normally mini comics, whether it be He-Man or otherwise, you obviously would start from the front. You'd flip. Obviously, you're probably going to be reading, and not just be flipping through the pages. You're going to flip to the back, and then that's the back of the comic. We're going to do things differently this time around, though, for the story of Tuvar and Badra. We're going to start the story at least with Tuvar. And when you flip through the comic, that's clever here. It tells the story only from his side of things till eventually he comes in contact and blows with Badra. Skeletor, of course, coming to terms with the fact that he could probably combine the two, he's evil after all, takes the two characters and combines them together to make Too Bad. Now, that's the story of only just Tuvar. If you, though, take the comic and flip it this way, so instead of looking at it from the front, you're going to be flipping around this way, now you've got the story of Badra. And the story, again, starts from his side of things till eventually, comes into the same... Essentially, the story ends for both of the stories in the exact same spot. The two of them are fighting. Skeletor sees that and merges the two together. And then you've got yourself, if I just flipped right to it, you got yourself Too Bad. So it's really clever the way they did this, that you have two stories on either polarizing sides. And then in the middle, their stories end the exact same moment. And it ends with them becoming Too Bad. That's pretty clever, Mattel. Very clever indeed. Let's move that off to the side. Something that's also clever is the fact that they included a Season 2, Episode 62 accessory, that being the Mirror of Avathar. This actually was taken from the episode The Ancient Mirror of Avathar that very predominantly features Too Bad. Though they're not going to be featured the way that you're seeing right now. And I don't think the mirror, in fact, has any meaning at all for the way that they are merged together. But at least they are characters that appear in this episode. The mirror itself has been molded here in gold plastic. You can see it's quite really hollow on the back, though. But at least it is finished. It doesn't look like... there's a part, obviously, where they took a lenticular sticker. So the mirror actually does look like it's talking and it's moving its eyebrows up and down. Can you see that? I can hope you can see that. But on the back, they didn't have to even really mold this at all, but they did. That looks nice. What I have plans, though, when it comes to the episode-specific accessories, something I kind of really criticized in earlier episodes, I had kind of this idea in mind that when eventually I set up Snake Mountain, because right now it's still inside of a box, so I don't have any room whatsoever to have a snake. I have Castle Grayskull right now, and I have to kind of move stuff, and nobody cares. But I think what I'm planning to do, though, with Snake Mountain, it's like sort of down in the depths. I'm probably going to have a lot of these episode-specific accessories. So it kind of just looks like Skeletor's been stealing things and literally just been keeping them in his basement. He's hoarding them just as much as I'm hoarding these collectibles. He just doesn't even know what to do with it. The mirror's like, hey, I got wisdom. Skeletor's like, I got to find something else new. I got to find something else I can steal. But the mirror itself is a wise mirror. It knows all. So it's probably a good mirror that you maybe want to be talking to. Again, maybe Prince Adam probably should have maybe looked at the mirror, talked to it a few times to probably know that Trapjaw, that pirate he was talking to, it seemed like a friendly enough pirate, was actually Trapjaw that whole time. Stupid Prince Adam. Let's put it off to the side, though. Good size mirror, too. Of course, one of the other things that come included with the set is the actual torso piece for Tuvar and Badra. Of course, you're going to take the two halves of their names as well, Tu, and then, of course, Bad. Mash them together. Kind of like Apple Pen. It was Apple, I got a pen. Apple Pen, Pineapple Pen. Nobody knows that. I hope somebody does. The torso piece obviously is going to be taking essentially the two halves of their body, splitting them right down the middle. So you could have yourself like great flavored blue raspberry. Blue raspberry isn't even really a thing. It's a company produced flavor. I mean, there's no such thing as blue raspberries out in the wild. Watch somebody now tell me, hey man, I did find blue raspberries. And then I'm going to just seem like a stupid idiot like Prince Adam. What you're going to do, though, is you're going to take the halves, though. At least you're going to take the arms, you're going to take the lower legs, and obviously you're going to take the head of both the characters, Tuvar and Badra. But let's look at them individually. The bodies themselves are using the exact same, the same body. If I can just grab Skeletor here. Skeletor. Let's bring in Skeletor. You can see that they are using the larger style, not the Origins bodies. No, they're the cartoon collection bodies, so they're a little bit stockier, a little bit more simplified also here in the musculature, but they are using the same bodies as Skeletor. Different boots, though. The hands, though, do have the thumbs up hands. Unfortunately, though, with the hands being the way that they are, they already tease the idea that, yeah, these guys could have come in, I don't know, like a mace, a club, something. A laser gun that goes pew, pew, pew. You could have given them something to with that as well. You know, the mirror isn't as bad of an idea to throw that in there because at least it has something to do with the characters. But again, just to use some plastic, come on. Throw us a bone, Mattel. They could have included, some blaster, something with these figures. But from a head sculpt standpoint, first of all, of course, we're going to look at Tuvar. Tuvar is an interesting looking character. Like the colors are really bright on this one. Very vibrant in the blue. They're not quite the same colors as Webster. I just want to bring in Webster here so you guys can see. Webster is a much darker blue when you're comparing the two. But I really like the blue that they've used here. It's a kind of an interesting blue too because I'm going to grab Merman here. So you can see like all the different shades of blue that we've gotten from the cartoon collection thus far. The body armor, as you can see, is one thing that's going to be going over top of the torso. It's simply just a case that you could detach these if you want to, but I don't really know why you would really want to remove these anyways. The idea I'm sure you would have in mind is you're probably going to essentially be buying this set so that you can make yourself too bad. One of the questionable things about this set is the fact that it's a cartoon collection. To look at this, I would have thought right away the smart thing that Mattel should have really done was done an Origins Too Bad. Then you kind of have to think about all the things that are attached to that. It's like the butterfly effect. Sure, you could have done this, but then it would have affected all the other things in line with that. Creating an Origins version of Too Bad would have already soured fan base because I feel like a lot of fans would have just wanted to go to a retail store, for example, and not pay the $140 or $150 this set's going for right now to get their hands on an Origins version of Too Bad. Realistically, cartoon collection would have made the most sense because if the diehard fans of the cartoon collection would then go out of their way to get the SDCC release version of these guys, I think maybe for example, like this set caters more to ones that like the diehard fans that are really like, for everything that Mattel is releasing for the Master Universe, that goes for cartoon collection, that goes for Origins. I think the Origins are ones for fans that are probably the most interested in just like going to retail stores and picking up the set probably for like the $15, whatever the set would be going for. I can understand why Mattel chose to not release an Origins version of Too Bad as an SDCC. Simply just because, again, like it would be way too expensive. Too Bad's a very recognizable character, too. You would hate to think that that would be the only way you could get the character. And then, if they had released this as an Origins, I know I'm talking way too much. If they had released this as an Origins version of Too Bad, and then released it later on in retail, people would then only have said, oh, I can't believe I wasted the money and all I got for this was this mirror. So Cartoon Collection is probably the smarter route that they could have gone to release these. Ironically, I mean, for me, I would have preferred an Origins, but I would have rather also paid Origins prices in stores. I wouldn't want to get an SDC version of Origins. Too bad. That's all I'm going to say about that. Head sculpt wise, though, this guy is really good. He's got kind of like a vampire. He kind of looks like Howie Mandel. Was it from Little Monsters? Big, large, googly eyes. As you can see, painted nicely there. Look, the paint on this guy's really good. The silver there in his gauntlets. Obviously got some silver there in his belt as well. The boots look really good too. The problem with this guy, though, is really essentially going to be the same problem as Badra. Once you start removing and ripping things off his body to make Too Bad, then you're basically just going to be left with all these excess pieces. Speaking of those pieces, the articulation on both these figures, so I'm not going to do it for both. Head's going to be on a ball joint. Yeah, it's the same as all the other Origins, and it's also the same as the Cartoon Collection. The arms are going to hinge out. You can rotate them all the way around. All the way around. I hinge at the elbow. A little squeaky for mine. You can rotate it there. You can also rotate the hand all the way around. Swivel on the waist. Splits on the legs. Forward and back, bend at the knee, rotation in the boot, ankle rocker, and that basically is going to be, I mean, that's the articulate for both the characters. So there is Tuvar. I can't believe I just spent all this time just talking. I talked way too much in this review, and I'm really sorry for that. The next figure we're going to be looking at here is Badra. If you're looking at the two bodies, the bodies are going to be the exact same other than just the molding of the plastic. The one thing that obviously is changed, though, is the gauntlets, the tops of the gloves, and obviously the armor is one thing that's going to be changed too as well. The faces, obviously, I mean, if you had your eyes closed, you probably wouldn't be able to know this, but the head sculpts are very much different from one another too, giving us more the cartoon version of Too Bad. It kind of got like a Bert unibrow thing going on there. He's got some spikes on the top of his head. I would say he's the uglier of the two. If the ladies are looking at anybody, they're probably going to be looking at more at Tuvar. Sorry, Badra. Sorry. And they're probably not going to be looking as much at this guy. Articulation is going to be the exact same on these, so again, I'm not going to look at them. And then, of course, for this one, the one thing that's interesting is that because his armor straps at the back the way it does, you actually detach it right in the middle, rather than with Tuvar, you attach them on either side. So I know the whole real reason, I would hope the real reason is you guys want to hear me talk, but obviously I'm sure the main reason why you guys want to come and check out this review is to see how you make Too Bad. So essentially what you get is a body piece here. Of course, you're going to have to remove the arms, you're going to have to remove the heads, take the lower legs. So let's do that all right now. At least they color coordinate these. So like you don't have to look at instructions at all to know that blue goes with blue, purple goes with purple. So let's do that right now. So let's remove first the legs. Now, the one thing about the legs is that I feel like the legs are a lot now easier to remove with Too Bad than they were with other cartoon collections. Usually, a lot of times, you'd have to heat these and then pop them off that way. That's what usually a lot of customizers do. But basically, you're just going to take the leg and you just wiggle it onto the ball joint. Super, super easy. So that's one leg. Want to finish all of Too Bad? We'll finish Tuvar first. We're going to take off his arms. That's going to, again, there's a little peg right there, a little hole. We're going to snap that in place. Snap's probably not the best word to be using, especially for a set this expensive. Just going to kind of wiggle it in place. There we go. And so again, we got like blue. Let's take the head off as well. And what we're left with behind, by the way, as I snap this all together. So we've got Tuvar for Too Bad. And then this is what we're going to be left with for both figures. Well, it's going to be the other side, obviously, for Badra. So you're kind of stuck with all these extra body parts that you really don't, you're not really going to have a plan for these unless, I mean, it's not like you could take really the arm off for Badra and then the lower leg and just snap them on this side, but then you'd be missing a head. I guess if you were a lazy customizer, like I'm a lazy customizer, you probably could just create, I would just call it like half bad. Instead of Too Bad, he's half bad. I don't know. Anyways, we'll just put that off to the side. Let's do the exact same thing here with Badra. We're just going to pop the legs off. Just want to make sure that you, the peg right there is a pretty strong enough plastic, but you want to make sure that, of course, if there's resistance, kind of reassess what you're doing. Take the arms off also as well, and we're going to pop the head off. Take the legs. We're going to snap the leg in. There we go, on the one side. Then we're going to do the same now with the arm. Arm's going to pop in. Kind of, again, you may want to wiggle it just a little bit. There we go. And then the only other step left to do is take now the head for Badra, and we're going to pop it in place. There we go. And just like that, we've made ourselves Too Bad. Probably the easiest way to customize a figure. Essentially, you're already getting the parts. Now, again, like the only problem with it, you're getting now a set that has these two extra pieces. You can't even really say, too, like, if you took the parts off and you made yourself Too Bad, well, now you could just, take the two characters and revert them back. I mean, I could say, like, it would be nice if Mattel had included another leg, another arm, and another head, so that you could have had, respectively, obviously, you could have had Tuvar and Badra on either side. But then, of course, you're essentially getting another set of two heads. I can't see Mattel really doing that. So now what you're basically left with is now two bodies that don't have all the extra parts. You know, again, like, you could just take the legs. This is a long-term plan by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to look a little bit like Metamorpho, really. Take that off, pop this off, and we'll just pop that in place. So at least it's somewhat of a serviceable stand-in, at least for right now. All I really need is a head. But at least I can make use of some of those parts. I'm sure I probably could use those parts for another figure as well. Now, the articulation on this guy is going to be exactly the same. We haven't changed anything at all. Let's move the mirror over here. But just to kind of give you guys, again, an idea. Let's move that out of the way, actually. To give you guys an idea of how then Too Bad looks like with other figures. Legs are going to be the same size. The arms, we're not doing anything differently there. But the only thing that's now changed is the width of its torso. And just to bring in the other figures so you guys can see how he looks with the other figures, you're essentially only taking the torso and you're widening it about that. So, like, if you look at Too Bad and then you look at Skeletor, it's just a little bit bigger. It's not bigger by much, though. You know, I'm glad, you know, on one end of it, I like the cartoon collection, so I'm not necessarily disappointed the fact that this was the route that Mattel ended up going with Too Bad. Because, again, like, on paper, they could have easily just done Too Bad as the Origins release and done that as an SDCC. But I know fans would have just said, like, guys, come on. I wanted Too Bad in my Origins collection. There's no way I'm paying that kind of money online to get this set for now $140, $150. The safest route, at least to cater the diehard fans that don't mind going either, you know, San Diego, or if you couldn't go to San Diego and you were able to find a set at least online. I think the safest route would have been the cartoon collection version of Too Bad, where at least you're getting a character, to be fair, was in the cartoon, but at least you're getting also a character as well that, unless you're really going way down the rabbit hole of collecting everything from the cartoon collection, it's probably a character you could also have passed on to. Cartoon collection version of Too Bad is, I think, more of a passable character than an Origins version of Too Bad. And I'm glad that Mattel chose. I mean, again, like, I don't know if everyone's going to be getting on board getting this set, but I think smarter it was on Mattel's part to release this guy as the cartoon collection so that, again, the ones that just want to get these figures in the stores and don't have to pay the crazy price to get it, I think more of those figures, more of those fans would be invested in getting an Origins Too Bad than have to go online or, again, having to go to the convention to get a version that way. I knew I would have dropped the ball, too, if I didn't talk a little bit about the packaging that Too Bad comes included with as well. So let's just slide the figure out of the way. I did want to show you guys what this looked like. You may have already saw this at the beginning of the review, but, you know, just because, again, like, for those that haven't had the chance to pick up the set for yourselves, like, Mattel did go all out for this. So you can see on the front, there's a mirror opening that would have had Tuvar featured on the front. Ironically enough, I'm sure you could have flipped this around as well if you want to have Badra featured on the front, but you got yourself like a little mirror here on the front. On the side, we've got ourselves Badra. And on the other side, we've got ourselves Tuvar. And then on the back, of course, we've got Too Bad. You take the top, you slide that off. And of course, the figures would have been fit inside here with their own respected plastic trays. I do like the artwork that they've featured in the front. And of course, that's the exact same on both characters. On the top, you've also got specific read-ups as well for the characters. Tuvar is a merciless mercenary. Badra is a reckless raider. And there's also a read-up. I want to cover off all the territory so that you guys aren't walking away and saying, boy, I wish this guy could have covered this part as well. No, we're covering everything. So there's the read-up for Badra. Want me to read it? Okay, I'll read it. The ferocious brute lives by the motto, seek and destroy, which is exactly what he does to his bounties. Meanwhile, Tuvar says, intelligent and cunning, Tuvar outsmarts any target he's asked to hunt for the right price. You can also as well take this, and now once, of course, we've slid off the plastic. Looking on the back side, though, we've got ourselves Too Bad, Skeletor featured on the back. And then you can also take this and open it up this way. So you can see how Skeletor's taken the two characters respectively. Apple Pen. I got an Apple Pen. So you can see as well, like, that's pretty cool the way they've handled the box. Certainly did want to show you guys what that looked like. I don't know, though, I'm probably going to be keeping the box, granted, because most of the time my figures are out on display. But I do want to give, again, awarded points to Mattel for really thinking outside the box, literally and figuratively. Apple Pen? Pineapple Pen? Pen, pineapple, apple pen. What? Final looks, though, of Too Bad. It does beg one question. Did Mattel need to throw so much in this set in the first place? On paper, sure, it's fun that we have Tuvar and Badra as two separate characters, and you as a collector can then yank the parts off and build your own Too Bad. The thing about it, though, is that now we're left behind with all these extra body parts. What am I going to do with all of these? It reminds me of those overly complicated blind bags that you have to kind of open up a bag of powder. You add it, you put your little parts in there that are going to dissolve with water. You got to stir everything up. Then there's extra plastic pieces you got to open up. At the end of all of this, all you're really getting is some shoes you're going to add on to a tiny little doll. And I'm speaking as a parent who's had to buy that for his daughter several times. Sure, it's good to be able to build all these things, but then what's left behind is just all these extra carcasses. I mean, as a customizer, I'm sure you probably could use those parts that we get from Tuvar and Badra and make, I don't know, some other character. Right now, I've just got Half Bad. It's a working title. Bear with me. I don't have a head, obviously, for that, but at least it's got some purpose. Other than that, I mean, the only other thing I could think of is that it would have been nice that Mattel had included extra heads. But of course, I don't expect them to throw all these extra things. I just complained already that they're throwing too many extra things in there that you're left behind with all these extra body parts. I can't then expect them to throw extra body parts in there as well. The thing I like at least about this set is at the end of it, we got ourselves Too Bad. It may not be everyone's preferred Too Bad, but then you have to kind of ask yourself this question as well. Would you have rather this had been Origins Too Bad, where this would have been the only way you would have ever been able to get your figure? I mean, obviously with SDC, I've already wrapped up. People are now going to try to track this set down over on eBay, and the set's already going for like $140 to a $180 price point. For that, I'm glad at least it's a cartoon collection Too Bad, rather than it being Origins. Origins would be one right away I would want to have to my set, and I feel like a lot of Masters collectors would want to have an Origins Too Bad over a cartoon Too Bad. I think it was a safer bet on Mattel's part that they actually released this as an SDCC and not an Origins. At the end of it, though, I'm glad that I finally have this guy as part of my collection. I mean, realistically, again, I would have rather had an Origins Too Bad to have in my Origins collection. But again, like the options that they gave us, while initially kind of seeming strange, why would they have chosen cartoon collection? I think for a price point to try and track a set down later, I'm glad they went with cartoon instead of Origins. What do you guys think of Too Bad? Let me know down below in the comment section. Are you also glad that Mattel chose to go with the cartoon route of Too Bad for an exclusive like this? Or would you rather this set had been, like, for example, an Origins release? Let me know what you think of it down below in the comment section. In the meantime, if you guys did enjoy this video, want to hit it with a like. If you guys certainly want to stick around for more, hit the subscribe. Turn on the bell. Come back. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.